Hello, everybody. This is Jeff and my co-host Dina Dye.
Hi, everybody.
We give you guys a few minutes to kind of chime in for those of you who are listening. By the way, according to what I understand about this Be Live, it goes to everybody, whoever's in the window, like Dina and I are in the windows. Then everybody in our list of friends on Facebook is notified that we are live. So I guess that's how this works. I'm kind of feeling around on this,
We'll
you know.
find out. Right.
So in bold letters at the top of my screen, it says, your free trial will end in 6 days. Upgrade now. Well, I had a beautiful lady from England. She sent me $100 to get this thing going. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, Dina,
Oh,
for a little bit
cool. Yeah.
because I think it's kind of cool to do this. I mean, this is familiar to me and you. Prior to us going in the hiatus, or you could pay by month. I didn't know you could pay by month. It was the one thing that I didn't read on their site because you had to click a button and then it would move the payment structure from an annual to a monthly.
Oh, okay.
So I could do this monthly. Everybody's talking about, my gosh, you can do this for free. Well, I like structure a little bit when we're doing this kind of stuff. And if I can pay for something that makes it easier and more efficient and more effective, I'd rather do that. The
Yeah,
problem is, Dina, as you well know, paying for anything is kind of difficult.
I understand. I feel your pain. I know what you're saying.
So,
Yes.
Dina, you've been going through it. Folks, we're going to share a little bit about what's happening in our personal lives, so you understand why we put the show in hiatus for a couple of months. Not to mention that while radio is relocating to Idaho, so there's a lot going on. But Dina's life is her whole life has been flipped upside down. So, Dina, why don't you just share with the folks what you're going through, and then I'll share mine.
Okay, well, pretty much I live in boxes. Uh, we got a note from our landlord who was not going to renew the lease. We thought we could live here for 3 to 5 years, and after 2 years, you kind of settle in and get a little comfortable. But apparently, the father had other plans. So I've been well, I was able to go out to the Gathered the Scattered conference. Was it last weekend? I'm already lost, but I think it was last weekend and had a marvelous time.
You were in Pennsylvania, right? You
Yeah,
met
yeah.
Cynthia.
I did meet Cynthia Simons. That was great. And Nathan and Christine Mancuso hosted the conference. And they did a fabulous job for us. They took such good care of the speakers. It was a great conference. It was called New Creation. So all of the teachers were on the same page and really moving ahead in this concept of new creation. And Ryan White was there, myself, Matthew Vander Els, David Wilbur, Melody was singing, and Joe Allen was there, and I can't even remember Stan Randall. And if I missed anyone, I'm sorry. But it did go very well, and except when I got there, my computer died. So I pretty much thought I was going to have to wing the whole weekend with no computer, no PowerPoint, no nothing. Then it magically came on one evening, so I made sure I got my PowerPoint files onto my flash drive, and then the next day it died. So this was the whole weekend, but at least I had it on a flash drive, and it was certainly a lot better having the PowerPoints. But so then I've had to buy a brand new computer, which those of you with MacBook Pro laptops, they're not cheap. So at the same time, my husband's computer died, so he had to buy a brand new
Yeah.
desktop computer.
Really?
So
You didn't mention that.
yeah. So and then so Monday when I got home late Sunday night and I just hit the ground Monday and just started packing, and I've pretty much packed up what I can of the house. We're going to be moving all that stuff into storage, and then we're going to be living with some friends who actually lived with us last summer when they came back from Singapore. They didn't have anywhere to go, so they lived with us for a few months. So now my good friend Jeff also is just got hired on with Samaritan's Purse. He's going to be going over to Bangladesh to oversee the security situation for the doctors and nurses that are on the border with the Rohingya people are sandwiched between Myanmar and Bangladesh. So he's going to be part of that. So he's gone, but his wife is there. So we'll be, he didn't have to leave her alone because we'll move in there. We'll be there for a few months. So the rest of the stuff goes in storage. Some of the stuff gets moved over there. And then, I mean, basically I'll be living in chaos for a while. The goal for our family, we're trying to find a family compound with my daughter, son-in-law, and the grandkids where we live kind of nearby in that property. And we found something, but the timing is never good according to us. It's always good according to the Father. So we think it's a great deal and a great property, but my kids are in Florida, so they can't see the property. They can't do anything financially with the property. So who knows? I have not been able. I had to put everything on hold. So I am doing no ministry work whatsoever until we get moved. Now, I did have an obligation that in mid-May for 10 days where I'm going out to Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana. I'll be speaking mostly on Shavuot and some on the book. So I'm not canceling that if you're in any of those areas. I'll be in Westbrook, Texas. Then we go to Lucedale, Mississippi. I'll be there for 3 days, River of Life Tabernacle. Then to Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and then we're going to be speaking at Shiloh Ministries in Houston, Texas. I think it's the 22nd Wednesday of May, and then we go to Wichita Falls. Connie and Randy Johnson, I'll be speaking. All that stuff's on my website, so just if you're in the area, go there. But in the meantime, I'm just on shutdown. It's cleaning, it's packing, boxing up, and but I have to say that in the middle of all this, so I did have to put my Noah book on hold, but I have been processing and thinking, and I've been doing a little bit of reading, so I'm preparing to write the Noah book. So hopefully, in about a month or so, I'll be able to get back on a schedule and be writing. So I'm very excited about the Noah book. I just got a hold of John Walton's new book, The Lost World of the Flood, which is very good.
I didn't even know they had another one out.
Yeah, just came out in April, and I've read most of the book. But one of the things that he said, which really I think will help people, I mean, this is one of many things, but he talked about the language of hyperbole, which is the language of exaggeration in the ancient world.
Was big.
The key to everything anciently was not the history or the description of the event. The key to everything is understanding that the one who who's reporting on the event or the history, that's where the inspiration lies. That is where the interpretation lies. So it's not in historical events. It's in how the author, writer, narrator interpreted those events. So we're looking at whoever the narrator, writer is of the story of Noah, and we know there are other stories, ancient stories about the flood, etc. It's not the location. It's not how he built it. It's not the nuts and bolts of the concreteness of it. It is how the writer chose to interpret that story. Was it a worldwide flood? Likely not. Was it a local flood? Likely not. Somewhere in between. It affected a vast area. I don't know that it necessarily affected the entire world. Did everyone that lived on the planet die? No. This is the language of hyperbole, exaggeration, because the author has a message. So in that message is the ark. Was the ark 300 cubits by 50 cubits by whatever, 25? Likely not, because that's the size probably of an aircraft carrier. And the largest boats at that time were maybe 10 feet. So there's something being communicated in this exaggeration, and I would maintain what's being communicated is that this writer, narrator is trying to describe the cosmos, because the temple, the ark, is a cosmic picture, it's a cosmic temple. And so he's using the language of exaggeration, hyperbole. So the problem is we're running around the earth trying to find the location and the leftovers of the boat, but that's not really what's being communicated here. So I just want you to know that I am in thinking process mode. Noah has not gone far away from me. I have some great ideas of the fictional accounts, writing about the sons of God and the daughters of men. I have a whole new angle on it. Of course, you knew that. And I'll be writing about the Tower of Babel. Of course, we understand it's a ziggurat. So all of this is going to be in the ancient Near East context, and I'm excited about it when I actually get to do it. My new website will be coming up live probably next week. And for those of you listening, Ryan is working feverishly to get the Roku channel up for my members. A lot of members have asked about that. So hopefully by May 1st, well, I guess that's Tuesday, sometime by the end of next week, all of this will be coming online as well. So that's my life.
So folks, one of the reasons I said, well, Dina, I'm trying this new Be Live thing, and maybe you could come on and just give a snapshot to what your world is all about, and particularly because you were only in that property not even 2 years, and now your whole world is in chaos in terms of your living arrangement, but you have so much stuff going on. And by the way, how is the book selling going, and how are you doing with getting the narration and those type things? Or is all of that kind of on the back table until you get resettled, or are those things happening?
As long as I don't have to do anything, everything else is working. So
Right.
I did hire a narrator, actually a gal from England. She has a nice British accent. She is working on the narration for the first book, The Temple Revealed in Creation. So all of you guys who want audio, our plan should be done by about mid to late May. So that I'll be uploading that on Audible. And so that'll be available on Amazon. You'll be able to get that. We are in process with the creation, but there's some moving parts there. With the garden, there's some moving parts there. So we don't have, I'm not sure how that's going to go. So I also tapped into Amazon marketing services. I learned how to do that and been working that. And so what's happened actually is I have been selling a lot of the first book. Like there are days I sell more of the first book than the second book because people don't want to read the second one until they read the first one. Hence the wisdom. Yeah, this is the wisdom of doing series. So I'm fully expect when Noah's done, everyone's going to break the bank, right? But both books are selling quite well. I've been very pleased. I sold quite a few books at the conference. So I think the material is very engaging. People are excited about the topic and about learning. Rico's jazzed about my book, so him and I are going to do a podcast on the book, and he's been doing some teaching to the Spanish community. So the Spanish community is all going, where is the book in Spanish? So Lisa Velasquez has already translated it into Spanish, and David Farley, my formatter, designer, is all in the process right now formatting The Temple Revealed in the Garden in Spanish. So that's going on as well. As you can see, there's a lot going on, even though I'm not doing anything but packing.
Well, Dina, first of all, I got to tell you a little story that happened to me yesterday. I was in Safeway, one of the stores here, a grocery store, and there was this black woman with her two daughters. They were in the entrance to the store, and they had these little flyers, and they were collecting food or giving an opportunity to donate food. And I stopped and I engaged them. I said, well, what is this all about? Typically it's Girl Scouts selling cookies, not people asking to donate food.
Right.
Well, it turns out they're from the local church around the corner, not far from the store. Big church, Foursquare, I believe. And she goes, well, what we're doing is we're handing out these little flyers, and if you purchase food, and then we will make sure and get it to the homeless shelters. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. And I said, as I'm talking to her, and she's got two daughters, they're young adults, or, they're teens getting ready to move into their 20s, I suppose. But I said, well, can I share with you ladies a couple of things? And so I started with my thing about women, the crown jewel of creation. And I said, God gave us his hands, but to you ladies, he gave his heart, and which kind of gave me an opportunity to ask this question. Because the mother was just like really pleased when I said, you women all have the heart of the Father. It takes the heart of the Father to bring forth life and blah, blah, blah. So really touched the lady's heart. So I said, well, can I ask you a question? I said, can I ask you 3 questions? I said, well, the first one is, why was Jesus Jewish? And why did the Jews write most of the Bible? Pretty much all of it. And why is Israel the only nation in the history of the world to be revived?
There's a mouthful.
So the lady, she's like, wow, I've never heard those questions. And this is kind of standard fodder for me. And I said, have you ever wondered why you don't hear that kind of conversation in the churches? She goes, yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never heard that. So I shared a little bit of stuff with her. She said, well, how do I learn this stuff? And I said, well, you kind of have to look at the word that you're reading in the scriptures from the writer's lens.
Yeah.
Which means you have to kind of understand a little bit about the culture, the time, because they didn't have paragraphs and sentences and periods. And so you kind of have to see the Bible from their worldview, not ours. And she goes, wow, that's very fascinating.
Oh, cool.
In line with what we're talking about. She said, well, how can I learn this? And do you have a website? And I said, yeah, I gave her my website. And she's like, the last thing she said to me is, I have a question for you. I said, sure. She said, how come we're not taught any of this in church?
Wow.
And I said, send me an email. Anyway, I think what you said about John Walton's book is fantastic, because we have this fantastical, ethereal, supernatural account that's based on an emotional understanding of the Bible, which on every level takes us away from the actual story that's being presented to us. So your book does a great big thing to kind of move us into a place where we can start looking at this from a realistic vantage point. And certainly John Walton and several others are helping to do that. So like I said to you when we were doing the show there, and folks, we're on hiatus. We didn't throw it under the bus. We're on hiatus because we just got a lot going on. But I said to you, I believe that the Father is positioning you for because this information is exploding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's starting to filter down into the congregations. And I believe that and I told you, I believe you're being positioned as a woman, particularly a Jewish woman, to kind of bridge a greater gap, if you will.
Yeah.
So this upheaval in your life is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's I don't know, I can't crawl into the mind of our Father, but I love what's happening. Other than I hate moving, Dina.
Yeah, I know.
I
have to say, and I can't put my finger on it yet, but I said the conference was very special for me. I don't really know what the Father was doing, but I just felt his presence very powerfully and peace. So even though, I mean, if you looked at my house, you would just go, really? But I have a sense of that kind of peace. So it reminded me again of the Noah story. I mean, in the midst of chaos of what was going on in upheaval, a cataclysmic upheaval, there was peace. And if the boat itself represented the cosmic temple, because all the animals were in there, it's a cosmic picture of life in the presence of God, not just a few people, but that particular, I mean, that's the message that the narrator is trying to communicate, that in the presence of God, there is peace and order and stability, even within the cosmic temple, even though outside of all this is crazy, So I think for me, when you write, I have to go through the process of understanding the material and being able to present it in a way. So that requires me to go through stuff. I mean, how perfect to write about Noah and the chaos outside and to be moving in the middle of it all. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of serendipitous, if you know.
Well, I'll just upheave her life and she'll get real intuitive.
Looking for intuition, yeah. And so I know you've had your share of stuff too, not the same as mine. And we were talking earlier, I don't want to forget. I mean, I'm just moving stuff, and we want to be cognizant of people who in their life are going through great trials and tribulations, personal relationships, health. We were talking about little baby Alfie Evans. We just can't imagine the parents, what they're having to deal with. And people are really dealing with a lot of that stuff. So, in the course of things, moving is, whatever. But we want to be.
Dina, for me, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was just reading an article where there's Iranians. The Iranians have got 80,000 troops are massed in Syria, where they're building these bases. And of course, we got the Arabs who call themselves Palestinians running amok on the borders of Israel. But I mean, we've got some real situations developing in the Middle East. And I agree with you. I don't believe the flood covered the entire world. The Bible is centric to the region of Mesopotamia. So I kind of believe that that's kind of where all that is. And I look forward to your book. But in my world, folks, and this is just stuff like Dina said. I mean, it started out, I took a trip to California and overextended our budget in order to learn real estate investment. And then I came back and got the news that my brother was ill with pancreatic cancer. So I, by the grace of God, and really just a blessing, because I don't have the money that I used to have when I had the plumbing business in the Portland area. I ended up with the money that I needed to go see him 3 days after I came back from the November trip to California, Orange County. So I'm back on a plane to New York to go visit my brother who was in prison. So that was, I mean, I hadn't seen my brother for 27 years, and now I'm going to a prison to visit him. We've talked on the phone and we've written letters and whatnot, but I hadn't physically seen him. So going to the prison and seeing my younger brother was an emotional, I can't even put it into words how different it was. Yeah. And then after I saw him and I saw his, deteriorating condition, he was real thin. I gave him a hug and I felt like I was hugging a skeleton. And I left. When I left the prison, I walked from the prison door to my car in tears. I could barely see the parking lot. I was just heartbroken. So that was what I'm trying to say, that was a very emotional thing. Right. And then I get back from New York, and I'm on a plane to go to the course with Rico, Ryan White and you, Dina, with all of this in the backdrop in my personal life. But the conference was so incredible. Folks, let me tell you something. I have been trying to put together $200 to buy this course so I can start showing it here, but I have other things going on. So let me tell you about that and why. This is more of the same reason, Dina, why we're in hiatus on the program. This whole real estate thing means that I've got to now put into practice what I was shown how to do.
Sure. Right. So
for 6 months, my business partner, Nathan, and I were running his company, first of all. We're busy. I'm doing that, and I'm doing the show with Dina and a host of other things. I'm trying to support the folks down in Peru. Then I go to Camp David or Camp Patriot. Wait a minute. Let me just hold up. I get back from Florida, and then my brother dies. So I'm back on the plane to New York for the funeral, which was another emotional roller coaster, but it was kind of amazing. You guys have all been through similar things, but it was really amazing for my whole family to say goodbye to my brother, because in his passing, I think our family, our cousins, relatives saw a lot of the pain that my siblings and I had really been dealing with for years and years and years. I think they all saw that. So I thought, well, there was some good in that, saying goodbye. So I came back. Okay. Then I'm on a plane to Camp Patriot, some place in Yak, Montana, 30 miles south of the border of Canada in Montana. And I'm doing this, and this guy's doing phenomenal work for the veterans. He's doing it all by himself. He needs a ton of money and an airfield. And I'm like, Father, how can we do this? So getting back to the real estate business, the whole reason I started doing this is because the income potential is such that I, can generate the kind of revenue to better be in a position to help the folks in Peru, to better be in a position to help Camp Patriot, to better be in a position to help my neighbors, to better be in a position to serve and help other people. So my prayer was, Father, if you will give me the ability to make a greater income, I don't want to go into plumbing. I don't want to crawl around in the crawl spaces and fight spiders and grumpy people about their plumbing issues. I want to be able to serve in the kingdom with more money. So quickly, we purchased 2 homes. Well, we put them under contract. After looking at 3,000 plus homes, dealing with I don't know how many realtors and putting I don't know how many offers on the table, we finally grabbed a couple properties in Indiana. One of those properties this week turned into a nightmare dealing with the owners. So we rescinded our offer on that one. But this is all negotiation. It's trying to gather together the money and the resources and doing the home inspections and doing all of these things that are required in order to be within the law and to make a good buy. And then you got to find the contractors to rehab the properties in a state that's halfway across the country. This is very difficult work. It's very taxing. You're busy all the time. And so for me, at the end of the day, it was simply coming home, unwinding, and laying before the Father and saying, literally, I had no idea it was going to be this difficult.
Yeah.
And then
It's a good thing you didn't know.
Dina calls me and says, I got to move. I'm like, oh, great. So we've been kind of going through a lot. And I should mention, too, there are several of you who have consistently supported what we do. And I particularly, my very, very good friend, I've never met her. She's in England, Anne. She's just a beautiful soul. But there's been a lot of you folks out there supporting, and I know you support Dina and her work and whatnot. And we want you to know that we really, really, really appreciate the fact that you folks care enough about what we're trying to do. And literally, we're just servants to the King. I think that's really what we all are, just servants to the King and the kingdom. So we thought we'd come on here on Facebook and do this little new thing. I got to pay for it here in a few days if I'm going to keep doing this and figure this out. Just another thing to do, Dina. I don't know. I don't know how to not do this. You know what I'm saying? How do you not do this when you have so much to say about our King?
Well, yeah. I'm speechless.
I'm not. That's a problem. I'm not. I don't know how to shut up about the amazing thing that's happening. Dina, just to close this off, we both need your prayers. And of course, we're praying for a lot of you as well.
Yes. But and just, I want people to know that whenever prayer requests come in, we pray, we pray, and all the needs and people who message me and whatever, we do pray. And so we do appreciate you taking the time to pray for us.
Absolutely. So this is kind of our little live Facebook presentation on as we try to figure out how to do this and move forward. And this, I don't really know what the future holds. I just know that for as long as I breathe, I'm going to be promoting the things of God, and certainly the people who are out here doing this. And I know you would agree with that.
Amen. Amen.
Well, that's it, my friend. I guess you got your house all packed up?
Yeah, now it's just moving it all into storage.
Yeah. When we were in our 20s, this was the time when we were supposed to retire and kind of start looking forward to.
Well, yesterday in the storage unit, as we're piling boxes up, I'm looking at my husband going, are we kidding? He's 70, I'm 65, and we're hauling boxes and trailers and stuff. It wasn't supposed to be like this.
and we're sitting here, folks. My wife and I, we sold our house in 2007, and we've finally been here for now 6 years, but it's a 2-bedroom townhouse. We got our grandson, we got my daughter here, and so we're all piled in here. I don't really have a place to do this, the stuff that I do with the video stuff, so we just make it work, and that's
Amen.
That's what we can do. We make it work.
That's what we're doing.
I'm done.
All right. See you next time. We'll come up for air in another week or so.
Yeah. God bless you guys. And remember, keep praying for Israel and peace.
Amen.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks, Dina. Bye.
Bye.